message. The future is not set.
Welcome. Thank you for the opening music. I appreciate that. That's my walk-up song. My name is John Taylor from Bitcoin Mining World. We're going to talk about the zero factor, scaling Bitcoin through education. What exactly is the zero factor? It's adding another zero to the value of Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin's at about $82,000. We call it rounded up to an even 100. And if we can add that zero, it's going to be a $1 million Bitcoin. Why is that significant? Well, besides being 10 times more valuable, it's going to bring a whole new group of people into the Bitcoin universe, a whole new class of investors, and it's going to spark innovation and be an asset class that will rival gold. So we're going to join us in this conversation to examine the pillars of supporting the Bitcoin's ecosystem and discover how creativity and education can transform its future. My name is John Taylor from Bitcoin Mining World, and we are the super connector in the Bitcoin mining industry, working alongside our owner, Scott Offord, the 256 OG who started this business back in 2017, helping Bitcoin miners safely purchase ASICs machines in an unsafe world. So we specialize in developing content to certify the next generation of Bitcoin technicians while managing and selling 1 to 10 megawatt class of Bitcoin mines and equipment. So adding another zero, it's a huge undertaking, and it requires a lot of community support and overcoming the barriers through education and branding. And by clarifying what Bitcoin is, why it matters, and addressing the misconceptions, we can welcome more people into the crypto space. So a couple of things that we're seeing in the Bitcoin space is it's complex. It's technically a complex thing to explain. What is Bitcoin? It's challenging to cohesively have a clear message through branding where people can all say the same thing. And that's where that inconsistent message comes in. If you ask 100 people what Bitcoin is, you're going to get 100 different answers. If we can have more consistency and branding around what it is, why it's important to be involved in the community, we can get more people involved and overcome some of the misconceptions around Bitcoin. There's still a lot of old misconceptions, and there's also misconceptions by the way that we as Bitcoiners speak about Bitcoin. There's an education gap because there's not a lot of solid education out there to help certify people, and that's funded by colleges and universities, and we're here to solve that. So a stronger, more cohesive Bitcoin brand creates a virtuous cycle. As more people understand and trust the technology, they join the ecosystem by bringing fresh perspectives and innovations. And this diversity strengthens Bitcoin's resilience and relevance across global markets. By lowering the knowledge barrier, we enable creativity to flourish in this space. And remember that meaningful innovation can only happen when people understand the fundamentals and feel empowered. Some of the things that we will achieve when we solve this is it creates and thrives understanding, innovation, acceleration. Number one thing, if we can get more people involved that are outside of the Bitcoin space, that have a fresh perspective, that innovation will accelerate and take off. By fostering a more welcoming environment, we grow the community and we strengthen our brand through cohesive identity, and that will build trust. There's 6 pillars of Bitcoin. I want to give you a little bit of background. Who is involved in Bitcoin? Why is it important? There's active investors. These are people who buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin positions on a daily or weekly basis. There are passive investors, and these are the people who might buy an ETF. They might have a retirement fund. They have things that they don't look at for the day-to-day. They buy and try to hold those for the longer term. There's also the people in the education space, and they're helping to build up the knowledge base in Bitcoin. And there's adjacent technology. There's other coins. There's cryptography or cryptocurrency. There's AI. There's HPC. All these adjacent technologies help Bitcoin through innovation in their respective environments. And then there's the two most important. The foundation of Bitcoin is the 256 OGs. And this is the foundational community that helped Bitcoin get started. They were the fans in the beginning. They are the people who hold Bitcoin now when times get tough. And they are the people who advocate for Bitcoin. They are the pillar in which Bitcoin is built on. And they're maybe the most important aspect of this community, because without them, the wider community would not know what Bitcoin is. And then, of course, there's the miners. The Bitcoin miners help secure the network, and they help mine Bitcoin, but they keep the business of Bitcoin going. They're the foundation of the business aspect of this community. So I want to talk about creativity. And creativity is important because if we can grow the community and we can reduce the barriers, we can foster creativity in Bitcoin. If we become siloed as a community, or we have barriers or walls around us, the creativity can't flourish. And it's not just about technical innovation, it's about reimagining possibilities. When people truly understand Bitcoin, and they get into that state of flow where they're in the creative flow. And if any of you are creative types, you write code, or you create photography, or you write a song, whatever it is that you do, you understand what the state of flow is. The state of flow is when you're in the zone and you are just connected with the universe, and you're able to create things that you didn't know that you were able to create. If we can get to that space in Bitcoin, we offer possibilities that we did not know were available. The impossible becomes possible. And it can unlock new potentials for cryptocurrency adoption and applications. When the impossible becomes possible, we can challenge the status quo, and that's such an important part. Bitcoin challenges the fundamental assumptions about money, and when we can challenge the status quo of Bitcoin and look at new perspectives and new creativity, we can come up with innovation that is beyond our imagination. The technical breakthroughs that we can achieve, like the Lightning Network, they transform Bitcoin from being a store of value to being a viable medium. And as we explore the new layers and the new concepts of how nodes can be used and how Bitcoin can be used, there's innovation that has not even been tapped into yet. And we can do that through education and community. One thing that we see is it's a paradigm shift through the social transformation. And it will allow us to act in a way around financial transactions in a way that we haven't been able to in the past. So let's look at the widespread adoption vision. There's mass participation. Bitcoin becomes as common as gas or gold. That's what it would look like if we add that zero. We're comfortable with it. All the citizens are comfortable with it on a day-to-day basis, holding and transacting with it. And they're using it beyond investment to include routine purchases and savings. The innovation multiplier happens when we add that zero. when adoption doubles, innovation potential quadruples as network effects and creative combinations emerge. And it also becomes a true asset class that is recognized independently of the traditional markets. Some ways that we can get this widespread adoption. How do we do this? How do we add another zero? And these might be some challenging things. We could rebrand Bitcoin. What do you think of that? We could take that B with the dollar sign through it. We could get rid of that. We could come up with a new logo. We could come up with a new brand. It's a decentralized entity. So I think changing the logo may be a big jump, and it may not happen. But what if we were to rebrand how we talk about Bitcoin? What if we were to, as a community, develop talking points of what we say, what is Bitcoin? Why is holding or buying Bitcoin a good thing? As a community, we could come up with key talking points that relate with the wider community. And here's why I say that. I was just at a Bitcoin conference last week. I talked to some of the smartest people in Bitcoin, from the Bitcoin Institute, other Bitcoin miners, and people who teach and educate about Bitcoin. And what I found is that when you ask them, what is Bitcoin and why should I get involved in it? They give you really complex answers. They go into all kinds of things about the value of money and all of those. And honestly, if you're sitting on a plane next to Grandpa and he wants to buy Bitcoin for his kids and he's on his way to Boca, he doesn't care about all those things. He wants to know, should I invest in Bitcoin, and is it a safe and good investment? And I think with branding, we can do some of that. Here's a challenging thing that we could do to add a zero, is we could create a classification system for all cryptocurrency. Bitcoin could be Bitcoin. It could be a value asset class. There could be other coins, like your Haktua coin or your Trump coin, that could be collectibles. We could put those in a non-related crypto class. They could be more like a Hummel or a baseball card or whatever you're into collecting. It's over there. It doesn't exist. And then in the middle, there's this other class of technology that are breakthrough technologies that will change the world. Right now, we're classified into Bitcoin and not Bitcoin. If there was 3 classes of cryptocurrency, we could do better with our branding. Here's why. People don't understand the difference between a shitcoin and a Bitcoin if you say that those are bad and these are good. They only see that they are all bad. They're all shady. And by creating clear branding and understanding of what all of those asset classes are, we can better talk about it so that the general public can understand it in an easy to understand way. Widespread adoption also comes with innovation movements. There's things like geohashing, this fantastic game where you can own the hash, mine, learn, and earn. There's heat reuse programs and discussions, like the things that my cohort Trevor Bello is engaged in. And then the biggest thing is we could create government incentives. What if heat reuse came with a tax benefit? What if our heat punk movement tapped into the legislation branch, the legislators and our politicians and said, hey, we're going to do this thing that's going to help the community. It's better than an electric car. We would love to get a tax break for it. Can you help us? What a better way to support cryptocurrency. And the final is simplification. When we can make Bitcoin an iPad, and an iPad is you open it up, you press the button. The iPad came before the iPhone, and you press the blue button or the red button, and you get a result. That's what I mean by it's easy to understand. For all of us old people here, before there was an iPad, there was this device with a whole bunch of keys on it called the Palm Pilot. And you had to type everything in on a keyboard, and you got this text-based thing on there that looked like a Word doc, and it was a huge pain in the ass. But everybody thought it was really cool. Palm Pilot went out of business when iPad came out because they simplified something that we all wanted, but we just didn't know how we wanted it. We can do that same thing with Bitcoin, and I think that there's a great opportunity for us to rethink how we put Bitcoin out there. So, these innovation pathways represent just a few possibilities of making Bitcoin mining more sustainable and accessible, and integrated into everyday life. These technologies already exist. They simply need refinement, packaging, and support. Incentive structures to reach the mainstream users. With government or utility-backed incentives for efficient heat reuse and renewable mining, we can transform Bitcoin Energy's narrative from criticism to an innovation showcase. So we want to hear from you how we can collectively make cryptocurrency more inviting and accessible. Share your ideas for breaking down the barriers. That was simplified and barriers all in one word. It was just verified. So share your ideas for breaking down barriers and simplifying complexity, or creating better entry points for new participants in the Bitcoin system. Your unique perspective as yes, totally lost it. You have a unique perspective, all right? So if you can get more involved in it, we're going to make Bitcoin better together. So I thank you for your time. I love to sit up here and banter. We have to get that closing shot where I look really cool and point at Smidge over there. Yeah, you can be a Bitcoiner too. I'm talking about being a Bitcoiner too. Yeah, we're just making the best of it.